If we heal the inner child, we heal the big man and the big woman in us. Once you face the projection of who you are, who you were, and what you become seems to align. A lot of us abandon our inner child to fit into the mold of what we think a grown-up is.
You ever had a dream, Neo, that you were so sure was real?
As I started to grow up, I started to realize that there's no grown up around. Everybody just pretending to be big. The big man, the big woman, power dynamic, the ego fight, constantly that happens in the world that we live in. If you take a moment and see that the inner world is where you find your inner child away from the noise, that's when you get to heal that being. A lot of times, a lot of things that happen to us in childhood is now recorded in the memory because at the time, that part of the brain wasn't developed yet. So a lot of things that occurred to us, we feel it in our body. The body never forgets. Therefore, a lot of times when we react and we don't have a recollection of what memory this is from, it's usually our body that triggers us to react in a way. What we must understand is that there's always going to be triggers in the world, especially that will trigger your inner child, your inner pain, the things that you went through that your body feels but you have no memory of. In this time when you find that inner child inside of you, you meet the inner child and you sit it down and you tell it and you ask it and you be curious to know what they've been through. Because when you start to grow up, if you bended that inner child into the world, then you always gonna have to deal with your emotional incompetence. But if you pick up the inner child like it's your own child and hold it, it'll guide you to the places that you never knew existed. The self become aligned when it heals its inner child. And there's a lot of ways to heal your inner child. And just a simple cartoon on Sunday, eating your favorite meal, and enjoying what that little child really enjoyed. When you give your body that, you give it a recollection to heal each wound that you have no memory of. The inner child is the child that has been hurt, that has been silenced, that has been neglected, that has faced all amount of traumas that we don't know that we faced through. But it's in that little body that a lot of things that went through that happened to us still happen to us today because we're still in the same body. We just grew bigger. It's ironic how life works. We become from babies to toddlers to teens to adults, and we become a grown-up. In the world that we live in, there's no such thing as grown-ups. Everybody's just pretending to be big, and there's a lot of big grown-ups that are still a child because they haven't healed the inner child in them. The moment you look at yourself in the mirror and face that inner child, the moment you become powerful. In the road of healing, the basic of everything is that inner child need to be healed. If you ignore that part of your healing journey, then you are going backwards. The goal is to keep moving forward and forward into the journey that life has prepared for us. The more we heal the inner child, the more we get closer to who we really are. I always say this in my mind that it's impossible to fully figure who we are and what we are or why we're here. I don't think one lifetime is enough because there's so much thing we have to discover about ourselves. But the fact that time is limited, it gives them more beauty. If God gave us unlimited time to discover ourselves, we'd probably get bored. But since we have limited time and we can't get the week we had last week and it can never come back again, the goal is to keep moving forward. And as we keep moving forward, we will see that the world will constantly try to trigger us. And it's in the body that we feel these pains of the inner child. When we analyze this pain and understand where it's coming from, why it's coming, what triggered it, that's when we unravel. When you unravel that trauma, you get to figure out what exactly happened. And your body will guide you to that decision. Before any of these things, you have to realize that you must be conscious of what you do into your body, in your areas, your body, and how your body operates in the environment. That's a signal that your body gives you to let you know that it's in pain. When we learn the body and when we feel the body and treat the body like a different kind of organism that is outside of us, that's when we heal what's really in us. The body is our vehicle. We have to learn it. In order to learn it, we have to understand what triggers it. And a lot of time, those triggers happen because of childhood traumas. The traumas we carried, we have no memory of. If we feel these traumas and trying to identify why, where, what's the reason behind it, why did I went through it, what's the lesson here, can I move on forward to it, then yeah, you will. It's funny how the inner child, when you have a conversation with it, it doesn't take everything personally. It's very light, it's very innocent. It just needs an explanation of what happened. And once you understand what happened to the body, the inner child responds, and then you move on. The way the inner child responds is very silent, but if you listen closely, you tell the body, hey, when you were a kid, this and this happened to you. Then the child will try to understand what's the reason behind it. Why did it happen to me? And you give it a reason. The child then decides that, wow, really? It's really that petty? Wow, this really happened to me? And just get amazed, and it just says one word. Okay, what's next? Let's move on. The beauty about the inner child is it doesn't hold on to things. But the body is the one that feels it. When we feel the pain in the body, we think in our brain that this is angering us. Why? Because the body's on a different type of programming than the inner child. The inner child had became a past memory in your mind, but the body is still in the present moment. Therefore, those two are not on the same programming. So when the body feels certain things, it feels that it's happening at this moment. The body doesn't know. It doesn't have a sense of time. When you think about it, it automatically thinks that it's happening to it. That's why we have to learn to heal the inner child. Because if you talk to the inner child, yo, this happened to you when you were a child. And because this happened to you, you went through these trials. But in these trials, you learn these lessons. Because you learn these lessons, you become this person. And then the inner child balances the scale, what you just told it. It studies it, and then it gives you a response. The response has no emotional feeling. It just says this is good or this is bad. Oh, that happened? Oh, that's sad. Now the second word comes in after you tell your inner child what happened. The body thinks of that. It just happened. So how to get the body back to the state of mind that it is in is you tell the body, listen, that's not your experience no more. This is what you went through. But you let the body feel it. You don't try to numb it. You don't try to sugarcoat it. You don't try to hide it under the basement. You just feel it. You feel it, you feel it, you feel it until it becomes numb on its own. Body needs a lot of reasoning. The body needs a lot of cuddling. The body needs a lot of nurturing. The body needs a lot of validation. The body needs a lot of attention. That's why you gotta take care of yourself, take care of yourself. The body needs time to heal those wounds. Because once it's understand that there's a wound that hasn't been healed, it's going to take time for the body to internally heal. While the inner child is free-spirited, understanding, and disconnected from the body, it becomes observant once you engage with it. If you don't engage with the inner child, you just let it run wild, and everywhere you go, you're just going to be a big grown-up in a big body acting like a little boy or a little girl. When you deny the inner child the engagement that you're supposed to give, you deny the body. The more you deny your inner child, the more you put the body in bondage. And the goal is to set the flesh free, set the body free, to let it have a free spirit, just like the inner child that is inside of us. So engage with your inner child. Talk to it like it's one of your friends. The inner child doesn't have any feelings. It's just disconnected, making the inner child have an awareness of what had occurred. And once the inner child has this awareness, the feelings turn into anger, anxiety, and all that. But it doesn't manifest in the words. It manifests through the body. The body feels shock. Like, wow, I felt this and this what happened. But the goal is once you engage with the inner child, have these discussions with the inner child, you tell the body, okay, we just went through a big war right now. We discovered some trauma that's been buried deep inside of our brain. Now it's time to heal. The best food the inner child liked when you were younger the best books you read when you were younger, the best shows you watched when you were younger. You give the body these things, and over time, you nurture the inner child, the wound, and you start to heal it. But if you keep abandoning that inner child, then you're going to be lost in the big world. And the big world is run by big mans that are pretending to be big mans, but are really little boys. The goal is to find ourselves in this world. Yes, we come in here, we were supposed to procreate, have marriage, have kids, and all that. But in The Alchemist, the real goal is to find that treasure, that gold. And in this life, that treasure and that gold that Alchemist talked about is finding yourself. Self-discovery. The goal is to heal ourselves, to heal our wound, so that the next generation we bring into this world doesn't have to go through the same cycle. The voices in my head got me crippled to my bed. Smoking marijuana in the gas tubes. Now I'm floating. When I met you the first time, I laid my eyes on you.